So we do have 8 different kinds of threatened and endangered species that live here in Spring Lake and also underground in the Edwards Aquifer. 3 out of those 8 you can only find here, nowhere else in the entire world, which does make this a very special environment and federally protected water, also a critical habitat for those species. So we do have the Texas blind salamander, which, just as their name suggests, they are completely blind. They don't have eyes at all. They live down underground in the Edwards Aquifer. They are at the top of that food chain, down inside the Edwards Aquifer. If you think down inside the aquifer, not a lot of sunlight down there. So having eyes isn't really much of a disadvantage. It's actually kind of better. It kind of enhances the rest of their senses. They have a lot better senses of touch, also senses of hearing, and that's how they're gonna do their hunting down inside the Edwards Aquifer. We also have the San Marcos salamander. Again, those guys live in the San Marcos area, nowhere else in the entire world. They're not quite an endangered species, but they are a threatened species, so it's still very, very important to protect them. Again, they do thrive. It's very dependent on the spring flow that we have here. So that's all dependent on the rain we are not getting over the Texas Hill Country. And it's also dependent on this growing population here in Central Texas. So as the population grows, it's very, very important for people to be very conscious of the water that they're using and to save water so that we can continue to have spring flow for future generations.
That's exactly right. Without the flow of the springs, these endangered species could not survive. They're very specifically adapted to living in this very unique environment. The water temperature is maintained at 72 degrees year-round, and there's a pretty consistent flow. As far as we can tell, these springs have been flowing for over 17 million years, and they're particularly adapted to that area. If anything were to change, the water flow were to decrease, the temperature were to go up or down, these creatures may not survive. We don't know what would happen if the springs ran dry. They may just completely disappear and become extinct if we do not have the flow that we currently have. It's not like these animals can just pick up their little homes and truck it on down to the Guadalupe River. If the San Marcos Springs and the San Marcos River run dry, they have nowhere else to go. And that's why they're threatened and endangered, is because this is their home and there's nowhere else that they could live. And so it's up to us to make sure that these springs and this aquifer and this ecosystem are thriving, and that we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're conserving water and making sure that we're protecting the water and keeping it clean for these different species.